What's up, everybody? My name is Seth. I run According to Seth. I'm here with Cédric Ido, and we are here to talk about your new movie. Um, Give us a little introduction of yourself, and excited to get chatting with you.
Hi, I'm Cédric Ido, director of the film La Gravité. I usually say La Gravité. I'd like to keep the French title because
Yep,
that was my first idea, but in English it's The Gravity. So I'm really happy to be here.
I like Gravity. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. So I really love this movie. I watched it last night, and it got me thinking. I mean, what I loved that like a really blended sci-fi with kind of like a grounded story with these two rival gangs and these two brothers. What gave you this idea, and kind of where did you draw your inspiration from?
From a lot of stuff, you probably guessed some of them,
Yeah.
but mostly from Japanese genre films, like mostly Fukasaku's film. You're probably familiar with them.
Hmm.
The Yakuza stuff and and also Gidai Geki's film, Chambara's film, Kurosawa's and stuff like that. So I really wanted to pay tribute to these films, but at the same time bring in something very personal and that's where the my personal life comes in. I grew up in the suburbs here in France, and it's almost the equivalent of the projects in the US, of the projects buildings, and then these neighborhoods, and where you can sometimes have the turf war and all the stuff that you can have in these type of areas all over the world. And I saw some similarities between both, like between these places and what I could find in Japanese cinema and Fukasaku's film, where the turf war was echoing
Hmm.
with the in the Yakuza's film as well. So I had that idea that I really wanted to tell my story that way.
I thought that was really cool too, and I've never really seen that side of like France before, and it was really cool kind of getting a deeper dive into that.
Yeah.
And I really liked how like the planets. I thought that was just so cool, like all the space stuff. I'm a sucker for
Yeah.
space. Interstellar is like one of my
Oh
favorite
yeah.
movies.
Yeah, me too. So
Yeah, so I loved all that.
yeah, I needed to bring. I also brought that because I needed to bring something more. Like not just staying at at the low level. I really wanted to take them into space, and just to take some distance with what we consider as being social issues and stuff like that. I really wanted to take some distance with all these issues, and that was the best way for me. And then also I wanted to bring this clock, like a clock ticking all
Hmm.
the time, and then you see that the danger is coming, and the gravity is also the danger. But the real reason I use the gravity is purely metaphorical. It's an illustration of the glass ceiling in a way. So, but I really wanted to use it and make sure that it would bring another type of force, not only being stopped by an invisible ceiling, but being dragged down, and very strongly by a force that has a power on all of us, not only on the people living in the suburbs and in the banlieue, as we say.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I'll bring that up in a little bit because there's something that I kind of picked up on. But what I wanted to ask you next, because I thought this was really cool, Joshua's wheelchair was kind of like a James Bond car for drugs. Where did you come up with that idea?
uh, Also, so a reference that you're probably familiar with. It's from I think the name. I'm sure the name is in French is Baby Cart. Is that the same? And you probably with the samurai with the baby was
Oh
pushing the
yeah,
baby stroller,
yes.
and so that's the name that they brought up here. I think in Japanese is Shogun something. I forgot. And I like that idea that I could take this into the suburbs and using this. I really wanted a strong relationship between these two brothers, and also having and not having a relationship balanced at the same time. One is kind of like depending on his brother because he's on his wheelchair, and his brother also used to be used to depend on his big brother as well, like before his accident. Not with spoiling alert.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that's what I needed to connect them on that way. You know, having a weird relationship between them both, and at the same time, you know, they couldn't go without another without one another. You know, so they
Mhm.
had to stick together.
I know, I thought that was such a little cool thing, and, another thing that I really picked up on is, the transformation with the chair, and how Josh used it kind of towards his advantage in that climax is I've never really seen anything like that, and I thought it was really cool, and it was cool seeing somebody
Nice.
handicapped empowered in such an amazing way. Because I kind of feel like in a way it was his story and not,
Yeah.
his brother's. Was that, something that you kind of, like, hope the audience is gonna pick up on?
Yeah, totally. Because that was it's actually you see the character being totally at the mercy of everything, not even, you know, having any self confidence, no nothing.
Mhm,
And in the end, because of what he does with his hands, you know, and with his brain, and his he could be MIT engineer or whatever, you know, but he's like stuck in this in his neighborhood. And at the end, it's just it's like a revelation to you know, it's like um something that an achievement in a way, you know. It's like an achievement, and then when he just, you know, you see his engineer power becomes like an art, and then he's able to affirm who he is actually now, to stand at the same level as everybody, you know.
yeah.
So
I thought that was really cool and giving him that power, and
nice.
he's kind of like Iron Man.
Exactly. He's the
Um,
Iron
he
Man.
is. So, and I know kind of you said you get a lot of the inspiration from samurai and things like that in Japanese films. What I noticed that there was a big parallel between like the Ronin and the brothers and Kristoff. So obviously, Ronins had no master. They were always kind of, for
Yeah,
hire and there to help. And they even make that comment in the film. It's like, what did you guys do for the community?
yeah,
We've been giving back, we've been helping out. I thought that was kind of a cool contrast between the sides, and it makes you really think who are the bad guys here.
yes.
Was there well, actually one question is was there any significance to the red hair that the Ronins had? That's what I wanted
Oh,
to know.
yeah, kind of. Yeah, there's a real significance. Once again, it's took it from, you know, from the Japanese culture in a way,
Mhm,
because yeah, first you have to know that the colors of the Ronins, like the what they're wearing blue and white, and they have red hair, which is actually the colors of the French flag. And it also has another meaning. It's the blue is the color of in Japanese traditional culture.
mhm.
Blue is the color of wisdom, of knowledge, and red is actually to repulse demons, like to protect yourself from demons and from what's coming up. So yeah, that's why they all have their red hair, because they kind of like um see what's coming. You know, they see what's coming next, and with the red sky, um you know, the red sky coming and all this stuff. So yeah.
I thought that was really cool and having that comparison between the two because it really made you think. It's like, well, you see these brothers are kind of trying to fight for their survival, but then you have this other gang that's like they are giving back to the community, or at least they say they are. I thought that was a
Yeah,
really cool contrast
yeah,
between the two.
nice.
um, this might kind of get into spoiler territory, but what were they chanting when they tied up Kristoff?
Oh yeah, the it's like a prayer,
Okay.
you know. And you know, the sacrifice the ritual that that they practice in the film is actually from a real from an ancient sacrifice ritual in Japan,
Mhm,
and it's called itobashira, which is literally a human pillar. That's what it means. And they used to sacrifice either a volunteer or an enemy that they captured, and then they put it somewhere in the building, or they bury them, or they put them in the pillar, in order to have protection from the gods, from the and that's what they actually do. So is that was a question? What was the question again? Sorry.
Yeah, what like what they were saying when they were chanting,
Oh
when
yeah,
they yeah.
exactly. And they actually saying something for the gods,
Mhm.
like those who practice the Tobashira. I mean, I'm not gonna be really precise
Yeah,
about the whole thing, but literally, it's I mean, it's yeah, like they asking the gods to protect them because they did the sacrifice as the god wanted them to do, so it's like so they won't be victim of this of the coming tragedy, the gravity that is coming to take everybody down.
that's really cool. I loved how that kind of like twisted into that, like the story kind of morphed into this like whole other thing. And I won't like obviously get into too much because I don't want to spoil things, but I loved how that it kind of changed throughout the film, and then that happens, and you're like, oh, so this is what's happening now. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Um, some of the fight sequences were awesome. They were so well done, and I loved like the practical effects with some of the blood and all that. What um how long did it take you to do some of those fight scenes, and was there one that you enjoyed filming the most?
Yes, the one in the end, like the
Mhm.
last one, because it's the confrontation between these two generation who, and I built everything up to, for that moment. And I think that one is pretty intense. I really wanted it to be intense, and then when I started to talk with the choreographers, and then one thing I was sure of is that I didn't want him to do like backflips and then like
Mhm.
like ridiculous stuff that they, and I needed to justify everything because they have no reason to fight like ninjas and stuff.
Yeah.
And and it had to mean something. It was like a continuity of a dialogue, of an impossible dialogue,
Mhm.
impossible conversation. So it has to mean anything, something when he punches them with this being angry and all the stuff. And it needed to be loaded with all that anger that both side had. So
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. It kind of I just saw Old Boy for the first time actually in theaters when they re-released it, and
oh, nice.
that sequence in your film reminded me of that, and I thought it was just super cool.
Yeah, sure, sure. It's a reference, like it's something that I always have in mind.
Yeah.
The corridor sequence, like yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. I loved how he just slapping people.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
He's
the big brother. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
just such a big dude, and he's just like, "No, I'm just gonna slap you." That was great. Um, so this kind of gets into spoilers, and I can cut this part out. And I don't know if I interpreted this wrong at all, but you know, with Daniel and Joshua falling, and in the opening sequence with them falling,
Yeah.
um, was how the film concluded. Daniel kind of finally, feeling free. Was it to show that like kind of through all the chaos and how their life is that like gravity kind of kept him grounded, and he was finally able to kind of land back on his feet and move on with his life in a way.
Yeah, it's actually, I mean, Joshua is actually one of them. I mean, if we have to represent his gravities like in life,
Hmm.
I kind of see like a triangle of three different gravities. His girlfriend
Hmm.
and his coach and his brother. And he's actually getting away. I mean, in the end, like is it feels, I mean, all through the film, Daniel is like compelled to do things for them and never for himself.
Hmm.
Like he does, he runs for his coach, not for himself. He wants to go to leave the country with his girlfriend, but I mean, not him wants that, but she wants that. And it's the same thing with his brother, like pushes him, like, making him dealing drugs and stuff like that. So in the end, I really wanted him to be, to get rid of all this pressure, all these gravities that he has all through the film, and in a way that's his freedom. And the reason why he runs as well is, the only way. to escape gravity is speed,
Mhm.
and that's why satellites are going this fast around the planet, not to fall. No, you probably know that.
Yep.
And I think there's a term is called something velocity or something. I know the term like in French, it's vitesse de libération. You know, you have libération inside. So in English, I think it's something like velocity, and that's why he runs all the time. Like
Mhm.
he he runs because he's trying to escape from something. You know, he's trying to run away from something, and in the end, he finally has a reason to run for himself. Like he just discovers, okay, now I'm running for myself. You know,
Yeah,
this
and I picked up on that. I just wanted to make sure. I thought that was
I'm not
it
running away anymore. So you know, so that's it.
it was pretty great, and,
Mhm.
obviously, I don't know how much more time we have here, but I did have one more question for you.
Sure.
Um, any other passion projects that you have coming up? Is there something that, like, you really, are looking forward to film, something that you really wanna do next? And
Oh yeah, I'm working on a couple of projects right now, and one of them is a Western film set in Africa, like in the 60s. And I really wanted to tackle the Western genre, and another one is also in Africa, but
Mhm,
now it's the superhero things that I want to tackle. So
that's
like
really
both
cool.
projects also, bring in some genre in them.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Well, thank you so much for meeting with me
Thank you so
today.
much.
Yeah, I love the film, it was great.
Oh, I
When
appreciate that.
do you have a release date yet for it? Can I let people know when it might come out, or
I think it was the 10th was the theatrical release, the 10th of November, and then
Okay,
today is the VOD and DVD release, I guess. I mean,
perfect.
probably maybe they know better than me. I guess so. If I'm not
Yep, that was
wrong.
correct. That's correct.
Okay, that's good. So
Okay.
I'm well informed though. So
Perfect. So then, yeah, so
yes,
today, which if you're watching this, please go watch this movie, it's incredible. Thank you so much for your time,
thank you,
Cedric,
thank you,
and
appreciate that.
of course, well, yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for
You
doing the
too.
interview
Bye
with
bye.
me.
Thank you, appreciate.